Welcome to Ivy League Trucker with Clint. Going to do something a little different today. I'm going to record this segment in the truck yard. I'm not driving, I'm parked, and I do have some windows open, so you'll hear some background noise of trucks going by, but it's just part of the day of the life of a trucker. Call this segment Jabba the Hutt. And if you don't remember, Jabba the Hutt was in the original Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, I think it was, where he was that big fat creature. So I call it Jabba the Hutt because I met somebody who reminded me of him. So I was driving back in the summer, and I was at a truck stop, and I was just waiting and had some time to kill. And I was going in and out of the truck stop, and I saw a truck come up to the fuel pumps and stop, and just shy of the fuel pumps, and the guy was shouting over to me. The driver was shouting over to me, and it took me a second to realize he was shouting at me, and he said, "Come on over here. Can you come over here?" And he said, "I need help. I need help." I thought he was in some kind of physical distress or something. So I kinda jogged over there, got to his truck, kinda climbed up on the step. He had the window down, and I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "I need somebody to pump my fuel for me." I said, "Oh, why?" He said, "I can't do it myself. I'm handicapped, and I need somebody to come out and pump it for me. Can you go in there and tell them to send somebody out to pump it?" Now, at this point, I'm thinking, this is just not done in trucking. You know, you pump your own fuel. You're on your own. They don't have attendants or anything like that, and it's kind of ridiculous to ask somebody to do it. So I went inside and I asked them if they would do that, and they said, "Well, no, of course not." It was a small family-owned truck stop in a rural area. And so I went back out to the guy and I said, "They say no, they're not gonna do it for you." And he said, "Okay." I looked at him and then I thought, "I don't have anything going on." I said, "If you pull into the fuel, I'll pump it for you." And so he did. And I got in there. He gave me his card. I started pumping the fuel for him. And I got back up on the step while the fuel was pumping. And I noticed the guy was really morbidly obese. I don't know how he fit in the truck. He looked like he weighed every bit of 400 pounds. And so the fuel finished pumping. I gave him the receipt and he said, now I need some food. I said, "Yeah, so?" And he said, "Well, I need somebody to come bring the food out to me." I said, "What are you talking about, dude? This isn't, nobody's going to bring you food out here. Go get it yourself." Now, at this point, 9 out of 10 truckers would have said, "Go F yourself," and walked away. But I kind of just decided to do a little social experiment because I really didn't have anything going on, which is unusual on the road. And I said, "Okay, if you want, I'll get it for you. Give me the money." And so he says, "I have to write this down for you." I said, "Okay." And he said, "Do they have fried chicken in there? Do they have coleslaw? Do they have butter beans?" I said, "Dude, I have no idea, you know?" And so I went in and looked at what they had, and it was a truck stop that actually had a counter with kind of the lunch counter, stuff in the hot trays, sort of thing. And I went back out. I said, this is what they've got. They do have fried chicken. They do have this and that." So he wrote it down, and he said, "Okay, I need 6 pieces of fried chicken. I need, 4 potatoes, 6 rolls, beans, all this stuff." And I'm thinking, well, there's a reason why you're 400 pounds, dude. So he gave me $50. I went in there and bought it all, went back out and gave it to him. And, you know, he, I didn't ask for any money for doing it or anything. And then I just proceeded to talk to him for a little bit. And I thought, "What's your situation, dude?" He says, "Oh," I said, "I see you're really heavyset. What's going on?" He said, "Oh, I had an injury about 3 years ago and my back is messed up and et cetera." And so at this point, I'm thinking, you have to pass a physical every 1 or 2 years to be a trucker to have a CDL. And part of that physical is vision and hearing and blood pressure and all that stuff. But also there's some physical portions of it, like bend over and touch your toes, stand on one foot, balance, a strength test, a flexibility test. This guy could not pass any of those. But, there's docs that'll give a CDL to somebody, I don't know. And he had one, so he told me how he got hurt, and I said, "I'm sorry you got hurt." And he said, "It's hard to keep the weight off." And I said, "Well, yeah, I guess so if you can't barely move." What I didn't say is, "Stop freaking eating so much food. That might be a good first step." And then I talked to him a little more, and he said how he was gonna start his own trucking company, and he'd talked to a guy, and he and the guy were gonna buy a truck, and then they were gonna start hiring a driver. He had listened to some courses and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I listened to him for a while, and I actually turned him on to a trucking podcast, which is all about starting your own company, what it's really like, the business aspects, and all the nuances of owning and running a small trucking company as opposed to just being a driver. And I gave him that. He wrote that down. You know, he, we talked a little bit longer, and then he was off on his way. So I got down, I kind of walked back to my truck and proceeded to go get some exercise walking, which I was pretty motivated to do after talking to this guy. And I just thought about him, and I thought about me, and I thought about truckers in general, and how there's a big difference between driving a truck and running a small trucking company and trying to build something. You know, this guy, maybe he'll be successful. I highly doubt it because, he didn't seem very disciplined. He also wasn't that savvy in how he asked for help, which you're going to need to do a lot of if you start a small company. I thought about all that, and then I just pulled myself up short. And I thought, you know what? There were some of those characteristics that I had as how I ran my company and thoughts I had about what I could and couldn't do and decisions I made. I had a small company and then it kind of burned it to the ground through bad decisions and self-delusion. And I thought, gee, maybe he and I aren't that different. We're both driving trucks. I mean, I'm not 400 pounds, but maybe there's not a whole lot of difference between me and him. And so that pulled me up short. And then I had a little bit of compassion for the guy that, he at least had an idea to do something different and to try something different and move forward and build something. And he had an idea. So I wish the guy well. I hope he listens to all those podcasts. There's a podcast called Haulin' Assets, which is just every other week of starting and running a small company, trucking company from 1 to 10 trucks. If you want to do that, I highly recommend it. Yeah. So maybe there's not that whole lot of difference between me and him, and maybe there's a little more commonality between a guy like that and me than I realize. Clearly, he didn't have the educational background. He didn't have a lot of the background I have, but our current situations weren't a whole lot different other than the fact that he'll probably stroke out and die by age 60 in what kind of physical shape he was in. And there are a lot of overweight truckers, as you might imagine, just sitting and driving all the time. So the the assignment out of this one is to try to talk to somebody and find common ground, to try to find something that is common between you and them, even if you seem to be very different from them, and to draw that out a little bit. Hey everyone, this is Clint, and this interview that you're going to hear is with Sean Smitty Smith. He is a fellow brother trucker in the company that with. He's a pretty experienced trucker, been driving for about 25 years, and we've just gotten to know each other, and I've learned a lot from him. Mitty, how you doing? Where you at today?
Oh, just living the dream in Kentucky now, heading down to Louisville and points beyond.
Nice, nice. So, how's the weather out there?
Actually, it's beautiful. It's let's see, we got 49 and a little cloudy. Beautiful day.
Okay, all right.
Get out, get a little workout in, then good to go.
There you go. Hey, so I've gotten to know Smitty over the last couple of years and learned a lot from him. He's been super helpful. And Smitty's been driving a lot longer than I have. And so I would say he's what I call a seasoned
seasoned trucker. He also, hauls the same type of stuff I do, which is liquid, mostly lubricants. But the big difference with Smitty is he stays out on the road a lot longer than I do. So, Smitty, what's your typical time away from home?
Basically about 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks out,
4 to 6 weeks
and then
out. Okay.
home for a 34-hour reset, back out running.
Back out running. And so that's how you make the most money in this business is keeping the wheels rolling. So what parts of the country do you go to, Smitty? Is it all over?
Well, I've done all 48, all over 48, run into Canada, do then 7 provinces up there, and one little island, little ferry boat ride out to an island for a power plant.
Yeah, that's right. You're telling me about that. It's actually an island that's out in the Gulf of Labrador. And how long is that ferry ride that takes your semi out there?
It's about a 5-hour ride one
Wow.
way.
So ferries that can take semi trucks. So it must be a pretty good sized ship.
Yeah, it's seven flights, and it can hold 21 tractor trailers.
That's amazing. That's pretty cool.
Big boats.
So what first got you into trucking? Was there a particular reason you got into it or somebody got you into it? How did that work out?
No, I mean I've always known I wanted to get into trucking, and was never the greatest in school. So the only two A's I ever got was agriculture and driver's ed. I was born
Okay.
to drive a tractor, and but it took me a little while. Once I moved from Florida up to New Jersey, economy kind of forced me into it, and so I got my class class B permit. Never went to big truck driving school, official truck driving school.
Okay.
Um, but I just went to the DMV, got my class B permit, and then started hunting around in the classifieds, them newspapers
Huh.
of yore. And
Right. Actual paper.
yeah, actual paper, and with the pen and circle and everything. And just kind of looking around, hustling around to see who would hire, who would train me,
Okay.
and found a little company. Did that for a year, got my class B license, and then went over to a food company, went back and got my class A permit, and then they trained me to drive tractor trailers into Philly and all.
Okay.
So
Okay.
kind of trial by fire.
Okay. And so how did you end up getting with our current company? Was that like somebody you knew or did you just heard of them or what?
Well, it was by somebody I knew from another tanker company that recommended recommended our guys. But I mean, I drove for the food company back until 2008, and
Okay.
economy tanked.
Right.
And then, so then I worked for a temp service for truckers, which was nice.
Huh. Okay.
Uh, and then that got me driving 53 drive vans, hauling mail, hauling pharmacy products, a little bit here and there, hauled cars for a little bit, and then got into tankers.
Okay.
And I said, well, I know how to drive, but I don't know tankers. He goes, if you can drive, we'll teach you to tanker. And so so the previous company I had, I learned the liquid tankers and the dry bulk tankers, vacuumed off of rail cars and stuff and put them into silos, little plastic stuff. So, and then liquid liquid products as well.
Okay.
So,
So so walk us through like a typical day for you, like from when you wake up to when you shut it down and roll in the burner. Like what's that? Yeah, like you're out for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. So you're going greater distances and getting all the way to the West Coast and up into Canada and all that stuff. But what's just a typical day out on the road like from when you get up until when you shut it down?
Well, for me, my whole thing is to get out of the truck, get a little
Mhm.
exercise,
Okay. Yeah.
get
Yeah.
get moving. I have some little resistance bands and stuff that I get out, get some stretching in, get some exercise in it. So that kind of gets the blood flowing, gets me up,
Mhm.
gets me hyped up and ready to start the day. I have a little breakfast and I'm off and running.
Okay.
So, and then depending where I'm going, I'm usually out, uh, you know, between 10, 11 hours driving per day, working
Okay.
for 14.
Okay.
But
Right.
so, try, and then you have to fuel up. And while I'm fueling, I'm getting out and doing a second workout. I got a cattle guard on the front of the truck, big bar in front of the truck, also deer guard, whatever. So
Right.
I'll
Right.
drop that. And while I'm fueling, I'll take and I'll do some sit ups, some push ups, and kind of keep that blood flowing, kind of wake me back up. And all right, now I'm ready to continue rocking and rolling.
Sounds good. Yeah. And by the way, Smitty's in quite good shape, and he's actually pretty inspiring because truckers, you see a lot of overweight, out of shape truckers, as you might imagine, because it's just you're sitting a lot. A lot of guys, they don't eat well. They just eat the crap in the truck stops, and they don't exercise. You see a lot of obese truckers, but Smitty's kind of the opposite, and it's interesting to see how you maintain that.
Yeah, and it's so by the end of the day, when I'm shut down, I'm kind of looking around on Google. So I have different different stuff in my truck, be it weights, be it a unicycle, some golf clubs, paddleboard, whatever. And so I'm looking at Google Maps of like, hey, here's a park. Let's get out, go ride.
Hmm.
Let's
Hmm.
go for a round of golf. It to get out of the truck. That is the key to this. Get out of the truck, get you some exercise. I mean, even just walking around the truck stop itself, it
Yeah.
just keeps you moving and keeps everything circulating.
Yeah. I like to do that.
Because
Just move the body.
yeah, exactly. Because there are a lot of truckers that are a heart attack waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you know, and I'm trying to get out there. I got a little channel on TikTok and everything to kind of keep, make trucking fit again,
Yeah. There you go.
and
Hey,
get out there and get going.
would you like people to take a look at your channel, or
Yeah, I mean, if
okay?
yeah,
What tell them about that?
so on TikTok, it's Fit Trucker 1975,
Okay.
and I just started in February with an
All right.
idea of I wanted to be fit before 50. Okay.
Okay.
And so I just started to do a little exercise, this, that, whatever, just kind of keep myself going.
Right. Right.
Well, it's taking off now.
That's cool.
So and a lot of people were saying it, come check it out. And it's ideas for getting other truckers fit.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the idea to it.
Okay. Cool. So people can check that out if they want to see that. And so, what are like the toughest conditions you've ever driven in, like weather or mountains? You got any hairy stories about some pretty rough conditions?
Well, I mean, some of the stops that I've gone to have been just bone chilling cold. I'm
Like
originally
cold.
from Florida. I don't like the cold.
There you go.
Okay. And there was a stop up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, in the dead of winter, and the high temperature was negative 48 degrees Fahrenheit.
You got to be kidding me.
That it was bone chilling cold out there.
So, in that kind of
So
weather, you never shut the truck off, right?
you never shut the truck off. It will not start again. But a lot of that stuff you have to learn. Okay, there's certain additives you have to put in your truck. You have to make sure all your levels are all your fluid levels are good. You have to know how to pack, whether it's food or, blankets. God forbid this truck does shut down.
Mhm.
You don't want to freeze, So it's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
electric blanket or just blankets in general, Carhartts, just big, heavy stuff to just keep warm.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I've been in some cold stuff in Canada, not quite that cold, maybe 20
oh,
below, but it's, when it hurts to breathe. And
it does.
yeah, yeah. So what's the part of the job you love the most? If you had to say like the top couple of things you love the most about just being a trucker who's moving around all over the country.
I just love the people out there. This small town America of just getting out and just the stories of people, sitting at, I'll go to the truck stop or whatever. I'll have dinner, and I'll just sit there and kind of rap with the other drivers, and or go out to when I'm going out to a park or going golfing or whatever. Just the stories and the background of small town America.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and the best thing I love about it, I get paid to do this.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that too. That's becoming kind of a theme of this podcast is connecting with people who, just have a totally different background. And I love doing that too as well. If you had to what could you tell the folks out there that is the thing about trucking you think people just don't understand?
Eh, The braking distance, quit
Okay.
cutting us off.
Okay.
Quit cutting us off. You will get squashed. No, I mean, it's people just had, people in cars and stuff have absolutely no idea who's behind the wheel of that truck. And you just be careful. Just give us the space that we need. You know, it's funny. I had one story that it was a buddy of mine had a question, and he says, "Do you guys all shower? Have like one big community shower? Like, huh?" He goes, "Yeah, like in the movies." No, they're all individual. Thank you. But it was just one of those oddball questions. And, people see it in the movies like, oh, yeah, it's a big community deal. No,
No.
it's not.
No.
No.
Yeah, that was one thing when I got into it. I thought that, the truck stop showers would be and the truck that situation would be very, sketchy and scuzzy, but actually some of them are, but,
Oh, yeah.
but a lot of them are the newer ones are very nice, actually. They're nice, they got it's like a little it's fully tiled and it's nice. So was a little bit of a surprise for me. So so how does being away, for weeks at a time affect your relationships with your family and your friends?
Well, e- everyone kind of knows me, and they know, hey, dad's away. You know, my kids have grown up as me being a trucker.
Okay.
I mean, my oldest daughter, I got into trucking when she was 5 months old. So it, I was doing a lot of home every night, but I just got to the point of when I'm home at night, I just go to sleep, wake up, do
Uh-huh.
it all again. You know. So as they grew up, the then I started going over the road when they were old enough, like in their like 10, 9, 10 in that range. It's like, all right, dad's out, dad's out for a week, 2 weeks. And here's the thing. When I come back, this is family time.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
This is not time to do chores and to do all the little stupid stuff. It's family time. So we go out, we go, kind of do whatever. And, I've always said that it's not stuff that you buy them is the memories you make with them. That's what they're gonna remember.
Yeah, I could second that. My kids are a little bit older than Smitty's, but it's not the stuff, it's the experiences together and the time and the, building some memories together. So I could definitely
Exactly.
second that. So if like a young person came to you and said, "Hey, I'm thinking of getting into trucking as a career," what kind of advice should you give them?
Run.
Why do you say that?
It takes a strong person and a strong, healthy family, a very trusting family
Mm,
to do this. This job will break you.
okay.
You know, it's broken a lot of people. But, if you have good morals about you,
Uh-huh.
and, that's where trucking is going to be great. If you have a drive to make money, if
Uh-huh.
you have that will to get out there and and make your money, and it's not all about money, but it's you're providing for your family. And that's where it's going to be. But you have to have a strong family to understand you're not going to be home.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you're just not. That's the evils of this of the trucking. And there's a lot of lonely nights out there. And your mind is a terrible thing at nighttime.
Yeah. Yeah, I could second that, and tell them how you stay connected with your wife.
Well, I mean, I'm just I'm on the phone. I
Okay.
call her. We talk 4 times a day.
Okay.
Okay, because she's a school bus driver,
All right.
and then she works at my kid's school as the lunch lady also.
All right.
So after her first run, we're on the phone. Hey, how's your day? Blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
She goes to lunch program after the lunch program. Hey, how are the little kids and everything? She likes kids. I don't, but she loves them.
Okay.
And you know, so and we'll sit there and talk. And after the third run, after her day, it's every day. It's how are you doing? How was your day? And what you don't tell them is the horrors of being on the road.
Okay.
You do not tell them that because there is stuff out here that you will see that'll haunt your nightmares.
So tell me what one of the wackiest, craziest things you ever saw.
The wackiest, craziest one I ever saw was well, there were two, but there the one that I saw that just it kills me. There was a young mother that was down in South Carolina. She was on 85, I-85,
Yeah, okay.
and her car was stopped in the fast lane. She had her foot on the gas and foot on the brake and was completely ODing in her car.
Oh, no.
Okay. And me being a trucker, completely shut down the road. I blocked everybody out so no one's going to hit her.
Okay.
That's the fun of, and
So
that's kind of the responsibility of trucks.
yeah, so you
You
became
know,
aware of some unusual situation, you basically blocked the roadway with your truck so nobody'd hit her?
yes.
Wow.
So no one would hit her.
Wow, wow.
So, and then I got out. There was another guy next to me. Me and him got out, put the car in park, and there was I want to say not even a month old baby in the back of the car.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Drugs spread all over the car. A pistol in the car.
Oh,
And this lady, this mother, was completely OD'd. I took the baby out of the car, put said baby in the truck.
oh my
We
goodness.
got everybody because if anything happened, baby was safe in the truck.
Mhm.
So ambulance came out, cops came out, everything was going, and then social services came out
Right.
and said, "Where's the baby?" I was like, "She's in my truck." I said, "I'm not kidnapping her. She's in my truck. Here you go."
That is
Um,
unbelievable.
yeah, and so they called the father. The father was in jail. Called the grandmother. Grandmother was in jail.
Jeez.
She was so out of it. She hit 2 cans. It took 2 cans of Narcan to get her out of back to
But
conscience.
they revived her?
But they did revive her.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And I said to the social worker, I'll hold the baby. It's fine. You know, I said, if no one, well, he's a little boy. If no one claims him, I'll get him.
Really?
Yeah, because this kid had no chance.
Wow.
No
Wow.
chance with that
So
with that family.
how did it end up? Did the baby stay with the
Uh,
mother or?
I don't really know. I think it ended up with like an aunt or something, still in the family, but ended up with like an aunt or something. She spent time in jail, and the whole thing was just a disaster.
Wow. Wow.
You know,
So
but
you got to be a good Samaritan and help out.
well, but that's part of trucking
Mhm.
that people don't get. You know, and we work with the cops a lot. We have CBs in the truck.
Mhm. Yep,
Hey,
we do.
if there's a car chase, they're on the we'll hit them on the CB or whatever. Hey, you want the road shut down? It's done. You get 2-3 trucks, cover the lanes. Guess what? That car ain't moving.
Yep.
It's stuff like that. If somebody's, God forbid, there was one out in Detroit that somebody was wanting to jump off a bridge into the highway. And so there was a line of trucks that pulled and parked under the bridge. So it
Okay.
couldn't go anywhere.
Gotcha.
Save that person's life.
That's amazing.
That's what trucking is. That is old school trucking.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah, that was one thing I was taught by when I started was this idea that not only do you need to be safe and professional and courteous, but you kind of have a sense of responsibility for the cars around you. That they don't understand how badly things can go sideways with, 80,000 pounds moving down the road. And you just have to kind of think for them a little bit and just, imagine that it's your daughter in all these cars, right?
yeah,
And kind of have that responsible attitude. I have found the vast majority of truckers have that attitude, and certainly with this company that Smitty and I are with is a lot of good folks. So yeah, I would jive with that sentiment. So last question, any parting shots for the folks out there from the road?
I get out the truck, get healthy,
All
and
right.
I mean that's pretty much it. It's you got to get healthy. You got to stay healthy, stay safe, and keep it between the lines.
There you go. Well, Smitty, thanks so much. Smitty's actually, been moving down the road while we were doing this call, and you stay safe out there, brother, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Absolutely,
All
catch you,
right.
brother.
All right. Bye. So there you have it. Just a little bit of insight from a fellow trucker I've gotten to know a few things from. He's a really great guy. So for Clint and the Ivy League trucker, till next time, shiny side up.